Press hockey coverage with Jim Biringer.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back. Full Press NHL Podcast here. Jim Biringer, the voice of Full Press Hockey. Back again, Russ Cohen, sportsology.com, NHLDraftBuzz.com, Off the Post Podcast, and you get them up on SiriusXM on Tuesdays. Russ, what's going on, man?
Jim, how are you?
I'm doing well, man. Doing well. Relevant topic to bring you on. Been trying to get together for a little bit. A lot of hot topics in the National Hockey League, a lot of hot topics in the draft world as well, and I think that's where we need to start. The Gavin McKenna, the fall from grace, I guess we can call it, or the overreaction to his first year in college hockey.
Yeah, it's an overreaction. There's no fall from grace. I mean, he's more than a point a game. Last I looked, he was averaging 22 minutes a game. I took a deep dive on Keaton Verhoff. I just wrote about him today for Hockey Hot Stove and really like him. But if it were today, I would not take him over Gavin McKenna. But again, I understand that if there's teams that really need a defenseman so bad because their system doesn't have him, they'll take Verhoff. I mean, other than Bedard and maybe Celebrini, there's been very few drafts in the last 5 years where you would say, like, people like to say, well, he's the consensus. Yeah, he's the consensus among people like me. But then with the team, a lot of times there's at least a couple of teams that would go a different way. But you don't know about it and you won't find out about it. But they would had they won the pick. And that's, I think, the bigger thing here. Not so much I should be able to talk about Keaton Verhoff and not ding Gavin McKenna as a result. Because to me, he's doing everything fine. I mean, people are really looking way too deep into this. Oh, he's not engaged enough. He's not this. He's not that. I don't know. Then how's he scoring points?
Yeah, I don't know how he's scoring points. It's like James Hagan's last year. We had the discussion last year going into the draft. It's like nitpicking and overanalyzing and overstudying a player to the point where, well, I guess we have to dock him.
Yeah, and Hagan's doesn't even have a great line mate this year. I mean, Dean Letourneau's pretty good, but he doesn't have a great line mate, and he's still a point a game. So it's like, say what you want. Right now, today, if I had to make a decision, I would make it for Gavin McKenna. In 2-3 months, we'll see.
Yeah, and staying with Gavin McKenna, and we've talked about this too, and you mentioned this a lot, and I'll clip it again and I'll put it up. But college hockey is just so different than playing in the Canadian Hockey League, that the rigorous, the schedule's different, workout, but you're playing against older players, 22, 23, 24-year-olds now, and some former, pro, quote-unquote pros that played in the ECHL. And their bodies are different, and your young body is 17, 18 years old going up against the older, mature player.
Yeah, there's a harder edge in college hockey than exists in Canadian junior hockey. Like, that's just the way it is. And look, you can't run somebody from behind or you'll get kicked out, but that doesn't stop the amount of body checks and big-time hits. And so there's quite a few of those, and I would dare say if we added them up, probably more than like the OHL as an example. So I think there's that. He has to get used to all that. He came from the WHL. So he has to get used to that. But also, like, he's playing a lot of minutes. He's playing against goalies that are very seasoned goalies. There's no 17-year-old goalies in college hockey. So these goalies are pretty professional. And yeah, you're trying to go against, like, these coaches. The funny thing is like, there's been a few good college hockey coaches that have crossed over, but most don't even want to. And the reason they don't want to is because they can get a 10, 15-year contract, have a great career, get paid. Sometimes they get a house. They get great perks, and they have a chance to, win championships, sometimes coach for national teams and such. Some of them don't want an NHL job where they could be fired in 2 years. So that's the other thing, is you're going up against some amazing coaches that have these systems that work really well, like they're tried and true.
Yeah, and speaking of, like, obviously the big weekend matchup was the Michigan State against Penn State. Yeah. Obviously, Porter Martone was there, and obviously came down between Penn State, Michigan State. And I know a lot of people are critiquing that weekend, but Michigan State has a really good team this year. And not to say Penn State doesn't, but, I mean, that Michigan State team is pretty loaded as well. And I'm not surprised to see that the Spartans went over, to be honest. Right, Russ?
Well, I mean, Trey Augustine's a big deal. I mean, that's, you could say what you want about their offense. You could talk about Martone and Visaggi and all those guys, and they are really good. But Trey Augustine's the difference maker here. Like, they don't have Trey Augustine, we probably aren't having the same conversation. because he's probably the Richter Award guy this year. If he's not, he's definitely in the conversation. So I think that's a big thing that kind of gets overlooked here. He's already drafted, so there's not as much shine on him, but I think we've seen with what he can do for the U.S. program and he might be a future Olympic goalie too.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. No, for sure. Definitely, Trey Augustine's been great actually for Team USA, as you mentioned, and obviously, McKenna has to go up against that. So, look, my next question on this is: we've talked about this, and I think this has been a big topic of conversation with Tom Izzo and around the league, and around not only hockey but basketball, is these former pro athletes coming back to play college hockey. I just wanted to get your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I haven't followed those guys as much, but listen, if the money's there, the money's better. And so if you have eligibility left, why not? I mean, what was the age of that one guy who came back to college football? He was like 40.
Yeah,
right?
something like that.
Michael Chiklis just did a movie. Guy came back at 40. Like, if you have eligibility left and you can make money doing it and you love it, why should anybody care?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's just, sometimes I think it's just because of NIL and the transfer portal and everything is kind of just taking the luster off of it, because I think.
Yeah, but somebody just went back to the lower level of Swedish junior hockey, and he's like 35 years old.
Wow.
And he's playing there. So, this is not like an isolated thing. It's just that it doesn't get reported on a lot because it's like, who cares?
That's a fair point. And you mentioned the Olympics before, and obviously the big thing, the big talking point, because the boys are doing it. Celebrini, Bedard are lighting the NHL on fire right now. Both guys had hat tricks. Bedard did it in front of Team Canada management. Your thoughts on A, their play this year, but B, you and I have talked about this off air, and you've mentioned this on air. Celebrini on Team Canada for the Olympics?
Yeah, Celebrini, I think, gets the edge over Bedard. It's not about points. It's about versatility. He's a center. He can play wing. He literally can do it all. He's a little bigger than Bedard, but that's not really the reason. It's the versatility, because there's too many centers on Canada. But can he play, on a wing? Yeah. Now, obviously, so can Bedard. But if there's an injury, would you mind putting Celebrini in at center on any of the four positions? No. And so I think that versatility kind of gives him that edge. I have no hesitation in putting either one or both on there. I wrote about Celebrini, put it on Sportsology. I felt like at the time he was the most deserving of those guys. But yeah, you could definitely make the argument now with Bedard. He's had the double hat trick and everything. But the only thing with Bedard is they're gonna start to pick on his size and other things. And again, I go back to Team USA going and saying, "Listen, we're just picking Chris Drury. It doesn't matter what you think. Chris Drury is Chris Drury, and we're putting him on the team." He was probably 35 at the time, and so that stuff still goes on.
Well, yeah, I mean, we kind of know what's going to go on when
Brian
it comes
Burke
to.
Didn't care, he was like, "Yep, that's who we're taking."
Yeah, no, it is, and Team Canada is probably going to do the same thing, because guess who's the head coach? John Cooper, and we know the Tampa guys. The Tampa guys. So
Hagel's going to make it no matter what, and Marchand's going to make it no matter what, and then all of a sudden, there's not going to be enough room.
Cirelli will probably be there.
I'm hearing these pleas for Tom Wilson, and it's like, yeah, I get he's got points. Everybody's got points on that team, but Tom Wilson could also lose you a game if he gets a little too physical. So, and the way they call it's a lot different. Like, Tom Wilson can't play the same hockey that he plays in the NHL. So I think that's the part that maybe sometimes gets overlooked.
Well, you talk about versatility. How about a guy like Nick Suzuki in Montreal? We've talked about him, praised him about being a number one center in this league. Do you see him fitting in on Team Canada? I
do. I don't know why the Vision wouldn't have him in it, but I think you can make an argument he's, one of the 5 best centers in the game. I think if we started going down a list, he's 5 or 6 probably. So I don't see why not. Again, I'll load my team up with centers and put them on the wing. I don't care. I'd rather do it that way than not have enough centers.
Yeah, no, I do the same thing, because you last year were talking about Suzuki and the trade and everything, and I'm definitely on the bandwagon. I just think what he brings, the two-way element to his game, the points, just everything that he's doing for Montreal. Why not? And that's the way Team Canada wants to play. That's how they won the Olympic golds when they NHLers were there.
They won it because Sidney Crosby scored a great overtime goal.
Yeah.
That's why they won. It was that close. But the game is different now. Like even from then, from the golden goal to now, it's completely different. We know Canadian when it gets into the Olympics, it seems like Canada's got this other level, no question. Suzuki's an elite skater. Like he's in that 90-something percentile for the league, and that's why I have him on the team because even though it's NHL ice and there will be a little more physicality than there would have been in like the old Olympics, I still think there's a little extra room out there, especially depending on the team that you're playing. And so based on that, I got to have the best skaters.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. And one more on Team Canada before we move to Team USA and the dreaded rink, because that's another topic that.
Oh yeah,
that's another topic. Goaltending for Team Canada, always a conversation. We kind of know what it is on Team USA, but Team Canada seems like they're going to go to Binnington game 1, but then after that could be whoever.
I was saying on Sirius this week, I put Scott Wedgwood on it. I mean, if he walks in, if it's Olympic time and it's time to lock the roster, and let's say he's got 15, 16 wins, how do you make an argument that you shouldn't have him there? Why? Because I didn't like the way he played 2-3 years ago, or I didn't like the way he played for Nashville last year? What matters is now. How's the guy now? And so that's a great team. Well, this is a great team. He's going to have a better team in front of him than. So I've always liked Wedgwood. I think he's a good goalie. Do I think he'd be the number 1 overall? No. But I think if somebody got injured and you had to put a guy in, he's used to doing that. He's filling that role right now for the Avalanche at a clip of 11-1-2.
Yeah, that's unbelievable. I mean, who would have thought Scott Wedgwood, former New Jersey Devil goalie, would be the starter right now in Colorado?
Yeah,
Same with
what would the ads
Blackwood,
be without him? Right? Yeah, where would the ads be without him? Nowhere.
Not in first place.
No.
Not in first place.
It'd be like last year,
now.
When they had substandard goaltending.
Yeah, and they had the great team in front of them, and they're not doing anything about it.
Right.
And credit to Chris McFarland for completely doing it on the fly. 2-week period, trades for 2 goals.
They looked like they were in trouble. Now they got a little bigger window. So,
yeah. Speaking of Team USA, guy put on the list, Cole Caulfield. I personally would have him on the team just because being 4 nations, you lose by a goal. Guy scores goals. He's done it at every level. I know you said it before, the height thing, the size thing, Billy Guerin, all that stuff. Me personally, I'm putting him on the team because he can do something some of these guys can't right now, and that's score goals.
Me personally too, but I was on that call with Bill Guerin, and I can kind of tell how he wants to build the team, and I think he can make you just as many arguments as to why he's not going to put him on there as to putting him on there. And so unless there's an injury and they're worried about scoring, they look at Cole Caulfield as like a one-dimensional scorer, and based on that, I don't think he makes it unless there's an injury. Now, one of the Kachuks doesn't make it, he has to make it.
No, that makes sense. And then, of course, the defense, Adam Fox seems to be having a nice year in New York.
Yeah, he's okay. I mean, for the people that thought he was a bum.
I had to throw that one in there.
Yeah.
I have to throw that one in there because everybody gets on Adam Fox and these narratives about Adam Fox and not being good.
Well, now they're getting on JT Miller because he's finding out that when you're a captain for the New York Rangers, a little different than even captaining other teams. And for a first-time captain like he is right now he may have been at other levels, but for the NHL, the weight of it is pretty heavy. The points are showing or not showing because of it.
Yeah. And the Rangers aren't a very good hockey team either.
No. And that there was a play last night where he didn't back check. Everybody showed the video. Like, these are things that you can't have it's like, again, I know there were some people that were getting so excited because he had a 100-point year. Oh, this is like getting Mark Messier. It's not. It's really not. And that's not to diminish JT Miller. He's a really good player, but that's it. He's a really good player. He's not that. And so, like, when you're not that, everything else has to be going right. And when things were going well in Vancouver, that was great. And then things weren't going well. And yes, he was the resounding voice, and maybe that's what Chris Drury liked. But now things aren't going well. Where's that voice?
Not around. Still in the locker room someplace. Maybe he left it in Vancouver. I don't know.
Maybe.
Well, then again, he may not be bringing it to the Olympic rink. I don't know. But in that Olympic rink,
at this point, I wouldn't have him on it. Like, what would you? There'd be no reason to.
What about Chris Kreider, though?
Chris Kreider, I think, might make it because, again, There's very few guys that are committed to going to the net. And if he's scoring goals right now and he skates the way he normally skates, which he is, and now that he doesn't have hoof and mouth disease, I don't know how he got that. That's crazy. He plants himself in front of the net. Why wouldn't you have that guy there?
Yeah, exactly. And if he's not injured, I mean,
Yeah.
he was injured at Four Nations last year. You could clearly tell.
Who
his
am I
back-
taking, Chris Kreider or Tom Wilson based on previous scoring? Like, come on.
Yeah, Chris Kreider, absolutely.
And I'm just saying, I know they're on different teams, but I'm just saying when they're like the last guy, when Canada's looking at the last guy and the U.S. is looking for the last guy, I think a guy like Kreider makes it and a guy like Wilson doesn't.
No, it makes sense. I mean, there are probably more guys lobbying for Kreider, too, than Wilson.
Yeah. Yeah, because, I mean, he has been the fabric of a lot of the USA teams. So, again, last year was an aberration. He got traded. He's doing good. He looks good now. He's not the same guy. He's not scoring 45 goals, but he doesn't have to.
No, he doesn't. And Anaheim's playing really well.
Yeah, they're okay.
Yeah, they're all right. But what's not all right is that Olympic rink, because
Yeah.
we have no idea what's going on with that thing. I know you've been talking about it.
I mean, aren't
for
they
months.
having the inspection this week? Like I saw on November 11th. Hey, this week they're having the inspection. Well, it's Wednesday. I don't know what day is it in Italy. Is it Thursday? I mean, it's probably Thursday already.
Thursday? But what's the update? Like what's going on?
There's no. I don't see an update. I saw somebody like there's an NHL watcher or something. They always put up what guys say, insiders, and I saw that he said that there was talk about Switzerland if maybe this rink wasn't finished, but the way I read it was that was just talk. It was never agreed on. So there's basically no plan B. So this rink has to be ready because they've sold these seats for a lot of money in Italy. This is the biggest thing. This is the big show for the Winter Olympics. And I just worry. I worry that things are going to get rushed. I know everybody's like, hey, they'll finish it in time. They might finish it in time, but what's it going to be like?
Yeah, safety is a big thing, too.
Yeah.
Safety, ice, testing, like the Sochi Olympics.
Testing's not going to be there.
No. And when Sochi was there, they had an event before the Olympics 12 months out. These things are supposed to be done 6 months in advance, 12 months in advance, so you have time to fix stuff. You're telling me weeks before the Olympic Games this is going to be finished? That's not a good look.
It's not. And like I said, I think if it was in better shape right now, we'd have gotten a report because I'm sure they're there and they're having all these conversations about it. And they probably will finish it on time, but what's the ice going to be like? What's the everything going to be like for the players? Are they going to have the three chillers? Are they there already? Or is it going to, is it coming over by boat? Like, I know they do a good job with other Olympic things. And so people have told me, hey, they do a good job with ice skating, whatever. I don't know this for a fact if ice skating has to have the same conditions. I don't know if they have the three chillers. I really don't. So I just have never heard anybody talk about it. So I don't know if it's the same things that you need for our ice hockey rink that you do for figure skating. It might not be exactly the same, or it might be exactly the same. I don't know.
No, that's a great point. But I think like when you're listening to Gary Bettman talk, the commissioner, his tone and his voice and the way he says things and Bill Daly says things, they're not happy it's this tardy because the players want to go, but they want it to be safety and they want to be involved in the process and they know they can't be.
Right. This is one of those things where like the IIHF sells the league a bill of goods and they're like, hey, what do you want to do? And we know if the league had their druthers, the owners don't want the players to be there. Like we know this, but they vote on it. They collectively bargain it and the players get their way and they make sure they go. Okay. And it's been 12 years since the NHLers have been there. So now they really want to kind of like make a statement because they want to keep going. And who knows, man, I don't know what it's going to be like. I have no idea. Like this, I feel bad that the women are going to be the ones that end up testing the rink out before the guys just because that's the way the schedule is. It's really unfair for anybody.
No, it is because there's supposed to be events. There's supposed to be an event next month and it got pushed back to January. Like this is
what
not
was the event
good.
Next month? What was that supposed to be?
I think it was just some event that they were going to test the ice. That's all I ever saw of it. And I have yet to see, like you and I were at the final looking for pictures of the completed rink. And I have yet can never find the building.
No.
What is it?
I mean, I did see in that CBC piece where there's holes in the roof and the parking lot's not done, and the ice isn't down or the cement's not down. So there is that. So maybe they fully enclosed it now. Who knows? Um, I mean, who
I hope
knows?
I hope so, because then we're gonna have outdoor games during the Olympics.
Well, I mean, they did back in the day in Rome, right? I mean, that Coliseum was never closed in.
That's true. That's very, very true. But it's just not a great look, considering, and the fact
No.
that there's no backup plan for like the IOC and the IIHF to not have a backup plan in place, knowing that you're behind schedule. And you had how long? You knew for how long
Oh,
that
I know.
you were
I think the
having the
backup
Olympics.
plan. Here's what I think the backup plan will be. I know a lot of us were thinking, oh, maybe they go back to Torino and use that rink. Who knows if that rink is even usable?
Yeah.
I think what they would end up doing is just pushing off the dates. Like, I think they would have other events and then just have those come in later. If it's like 2 weeks later, that's when they start and it ends later than it's supposed to. I could see something like that happening rather than changing a venue.
Yeah, and then you wonder if that happens. Does the NHL say, "Nope, we have a season to complete. You're gonna have to field your own teams"?
It's possible, but then you're already like in it. Like, I don't know what you do. Um, well, let's see. I'm trying to think. What is it, like 17 days they have?
Yeah,
So if it was 3 or 4 days off, they probably could still swing it. After that, they probably can't. You're right.
no, they can't swing it because you got to get back into the swing of the schedule, and the schedule's already condensed as it is with the
Right.
injuries, and everybody seems to be going down. Weird injuries. Jack Hughes. Now we got
Yeah, there's
two
more
last.
injuries. I mean, guys, they should be like eating pre-cut food and all should be catered and nobody should be cutting their own steak. Nobody should be barbecuing.
No,
Like if Luster were living in Boston, he wouldn't have been barbecuing, but he's in Florida, so he's like, yeah, let's barbecue. Like, I don't know, man. I mean, it's just weird. There's a lot of weird stuff besides the more than higher than average, I think, amount of injuries. Anyhow, now we're getting the freaky stuff. Nobody's gotten attacked by spiders yet, so that happened back in the day in baseball, or it didn't, but it got reported as such.
yeah, we'll see what happens with those injuries. But I want to ask about the team that you cover, Philadelphia Flyers.
Uh-huh.
What have you thought about the Flyers under Tocchet's first season?
I think he's trying to get his system implemented. I don't think Danny Briere gave him the perfect roster for that, and he probably knew he didn't have that. He brought in some guys that he knew, like Juleson and such, but it's really predicated on the defense sort of quarterbacking the team and moving the puck up the ice, having clean passes and all that, clean zone entries, clean zone exits, and they're not been great with that. Torts didn't care as much. He wanted to get the puck up the ice, but if it was like four guys doing it, he didn't care. Tocchet doesn't really want that. I get it, but nobody's really kind of grabbed the bull by the horns with that one. So that part has been tough. So I think when a lot of people are looking at it, they're like, well, there's no difference between this and Rick and John Tortorella. And in a way, they're partially right because a lot of the personnel is the same. And so, you're just switching around the deck chairs. So I think we're starting to see some differences in the sense that, like, early on, the defense was definitely better than last year. It's slipped a little lately. We'll see if that continues. The goaltending definitely better than last year, but Dan Vladar, he has slipped a little. His past 2 or 3 starts, Sam Ersson has fallen off the map. Like, I don't even think he makes it for Sweden. I don't even think he has a chance. So we'll see where that goes. Nobody should have been expecting him to be a playoff team anyhow. But there's people that are always like either hoping or even some people in the media that are kind of like, yeah, if this happens, I'm not going to say it or write it, but maybe. I get that feeling, but I never had that feeling. So I think they're going to be one of the 11 teams that has a chance at Gavin McKenna. The question is, because this league is so tight, they could be like third from the bottom or they could be number 11. Like, it's just because what's the difference now between last place and a playoff spot? Like 4 points.
Yeah, especially in the East. In the West,
Yeah, the East.
The St. Louis
in the West, there's worse teams. Yeah.
Yeah, Calgary, Nashville, and St. Louis have completely fallen off the map.
Yeah.
Nashville, what are you doing? Come on, let's go.
I mean, Nashville's a year off of what they should have been at least retooling or at best rebuilding. And Barry Trotz doubled down with this team, and all they did was get a year older, and just things look even worse. It's good that they had Matthew Wood there. I think he looks good, So that's good. They weren't going to be able to keep Brady Martin there. Like he wasn't ready, but that's fine. He had his moment. But like, what are you doing? Like you got to trade guys. You got to at the deadline. Like you're on a different mission now. The mission you thought you were on, you're not on. So I think at some point Barry Trotz needs to realize that.
No, he does. And I guess one of the missions still in Philadelphia is to figure out how long we're going to keep Trevor Zegras around because he's eligible. I know he's RFA at the end of the year, so he's still controlled, but I believe he's eligible for arbitration. And
Yeah.
what do you think the Flyers are going to look to do with him long term or like a mid range type of deal?
Well, it's interesting because, people are already writing, well, you should sign him long term. It's like, that's what they did with Owen Tippett. That's not working out. There's a reason why there was these RFA years. So you don't rush into something and do it. And I don't think they should rush in and do it. Now, I think Tippett, I think Zegers can be a point a game player. And if he is, that's good. Problem is, they got him hoping he could be a center. He's not going to play center. So now that you know he's not going to play center and you have a fair amount of wings, how much are you really willing to pay this guy? I've had people tell me they have to sign him no matter what the rate is to keep the talent in there. And I'm thinking, that's not the way it should work in this league. If you do that, you're not going to build your team correctly. You're just not. Fans will be happy because they'll be entertained, but it's not the way to go. So I think if he stays on the pace he's on, then they'll give him a long-term deal. Would I pay him 11? No. Would I pay him 10? No. Like 9 is what I'd pay him. 9 would be it because he's still not great off puck, and there's other things in his game he could work on. But the offense is great, and the fact that he wins in shootouts and all that, those are all the big bonuses. And he's terrific. Look, he's a great guy. He plays loose. So if not, then yeah, get him on that 4-year deal. Sign him for 4 years at 8.5, 9, and that's it. Like you'll see where you are and where he is at that point. Again, I went back to the Travis Konecny deal, and people were like, "Oh, you have to sign him long term." And I'm like, the worst case scenario here is you sign him long term, and by year 4, when he starts declining, they're starting to get good, and you're going in opposite directions, and there's a chance that happens. Like he's already a little bit less than he was last year, and that's why it's risky with some of these deals. I know fans always want to rush in and do this, and sometimes a new GM will do that. But these are the drawbacks because, eventually then what ends up happening is in 3 years, you're looking at the team and you're like, oh, yeah, Konechny's now like, a 50-point guy. He's no longer a 65, 60, 70-point guy. And we got 3 or 4 more years left of that. We've got 3 more years, let's say, of Cam York. And if he were to slow down or something. So, like, it's a tricky thing. And this is why, like, Edmonton had trouble for a long time, while Buffalo's had trouble for, 14 years.
Yeah.
But it's a tricky thing because you're trying to get all of this to peak at once. And the other hard thing is, remember, Philly has Vladar is the only goalie under contract for next year, for 1 more year. He's it. So, like, they're probably going to have to make a decision on that, too, because in the end, do I think Dan Vladar is a true number 1? So far, no. So I think they're still going to have to make a decision and get another goalie. And when you go out and get a goalie, you're going to have to sign him for at least 3 years. And then in 3 years, you hope that, they have a kid Zavragan and in Russia or, Carson Bjarnason. Maybe he's ready. Maybe there's another thing there. Or maybe it's go back out on the market. Like that's another tough spot that while you're trying to get all this other stuff right, it's not quite there. And I do think the defense is broken down first as far as, what's different about them. And they did start off really, really great this year. And the defense is still pretty solid. But how long is Nick Seeler lasting blocking all those shots? Like he's playing top 4. He really can't play top 4 much longer. I can tell you that right now, just based on what I see. Cam York's playing top pairing with Sanheim. Neither are true top pairing guys, but you don't have anybody to move them out. So, like, how much longer will you go with that? Like, at some point, those things have to start to get answered, whether it's free agency and or draft and developing. And let's face it, it's hard to find top pairing guys in free agency that are, like, under 32 years old.
That's fair. Yeah, no, because everybody's kind of off the market now. Like you said, like everybody's just staying at home because
there's two guys on the market: Alex Tuck and Artemi Panarin.
That's it.
Those are the only two.
Right, because everybody else has stayed at home, and
I mean, if big players. There's other players.
There's other players, but when you look at the list, you say to yourself, okay, where are these guys going? And like, because Kopitar's not on the list, he's retiring. Ovi's he'll stay in Washington if he plays again, or he's going home. John Carlson's staying in Washington. Yeah. Malkin will either stay in Pittsburgh or retire
and play overseas and play in Russia.
And you look at it, it's bottom guys and it's bottom wing guys. And though I do like the signing of Dvorak for Philadelphia, I thought that was a
good signing because he could do a little bit of everything. Problem is they're playing him higher in the lineup than what he can normally do in a full season. He's loving it right now. I don't know if he's going to be loving it in February.
Yeah, but maybe by February there's enough interest in him that maybe Philadelphia maybe flips him for something.
Maybe. I mean, at this point they have a lot of picks. So the big talk is, and again, this is the same talk the Sabres had, and it doesn't really materialize like you hope. The big talk is always, we want to get players. We don't want to trade anybody without getting players. Well, you tell me, Jim, how often are you trading player for player anymore when it's like, I'm going to trade you a guy that either I'm renting or I have him for one more year? Like, what are teams really giving you in return?
Nothing. There's really not a lot out there. If you really want to make a legitimate...
Mostly it's cap savings.
Right. If you really want to make a legitimate hockey trade, you're doing what Buffalo did last year and giving up Dylan Cousins for Josh Norris. Right. That's it.
And maybe that failed for them, yeah.
Right. At least on the Buffalo side it did.
Right.
For sure.
No, for them, for Buffalo.
Yeah. But it didn't even look at the Philadelphia trade with Calgary, right? Like that was kind of a hockey-ish trade.
Right.
But when you see two things work out, you point to something that happened at the draft.
But that was mainly a cap dump for Philly.
Right, exactly.
Even though I don't think Morgan Frost is the cap dump, but he was.
Right,
like,
he was.
That's what that deal was, yeah.
But if you look at it, you go to the draft, right? Montreal put in Emil Heineman with 2 picks for Noah Dobson.
Oh, I thought you were going to say the draft is in Montreal, because I think it is going to be in Montreal, but I thought that's where you were going. Okay. It hasn't been announced yet.
That hasn't been announced yet. I mean, look, I would love it to be there, for sure. But I'm saying draft night in last year, when they made that trade, you threw in Emil Heineman. Both guys have worked out for both teams.
Yes.
Like, outside of that, I can't think of other...
Yeah, most of the time, you're not getting that guy that you need.
No.
It's usually complimentary player.
I think I could point to the Drysdale and Cutter Gauthier trade, I guess, is another one that I could say
Drysdale's been okay, but he's not been gangbusters good or anything.
No, he hasn't.
But at least it was better value than something else.
Or like a pick. Like, I just give him up for a pick. Like, all right. Don't beat Detroit and give up Jake Wallman for nothing. Like, and then don't do that. But real quick, Mitchkov, have you seen him this year? Like his play, what's his play been like?
Well, we all know that he didn't come into camp in shape, and I think I had talked about it. Like, hey, he's not exactly right in that way. I think there's been too much of the benefit of the doubt as far as like him getting in shape, because like he was there all preseason. He was there for the regular season. Now we're 20 games into the season. There shouldn't be that talk anymore anyhow. But my talk has been for a while, like he needs more minutes. And he's just not, he got to get 15 minutes a game, but he's got to get more than 10 minutes a game, 5-on-5. If he's getting 10 minutes a game, 5-on-5, and they always go into overtime, you could ask my wife. So they're always going into overtime. He's getting minutes on overtime. He's getting minutes of the power play. And sure enough, you look at his 5-on-5 play, and if he's played 15 minutes, he might have 10 minutes. Might. And so it's like, he needs more than that. He has to develop. He's not going to be able to feel truly confident unless he gets that. It doesn't matter how many points he gets. He would do better overall if he has that full effect. Now, are they going to wait until they officially figure out that they're out of it to give that to him? I hope not, but that's the way Torch used to be, and it seems like Tocchet's going to go that way too.
That's unfortunate because these kids need to be put in the proper positions to succeed. I mean, we look at Bedard.
Yeah, look at Nikita Grabenkin. Like, go look at what is he averaging? 9 minutes a game, maybe?
Yeah.
Like, he's 22. There's a chance he could be an everyday NHLer. He's playing fourth line. He plays with Nick Delorier. Like, Garnet Hathaway, and sometimes they'll put in eyeballs there. What are you giving them? And then once in a while, when that line flames out like at every game, after like 9 minutes, they'll give him a couple shifts up with another line, but it's never for long. And he needs more than that. And he needs that so you could properly evaluate and see where he's at. Because if he's getting 9 minutes a game, I got news for you. I know Flyers fans would be crushed. I'm sending him back. Because you are just wasting his time right now if he's a 9 minute a game guy, no matter what Rick Tocchet says. Again, coaches will always say good things about players. I see what coaches think of players when they show me the minutes. That's the telltale sign.
Yeah, and I mean, look, real quick. I know it's like Callum Ritchie in New York. He's on a fourth line. I know he scored the other night, but I mean, for his real development, he
not where he's going to be.
No, because you tout him as a second line center most likely down the road. So he should be going develop in the AHL.
He should. It's not where he should be. You want him playing top power play, a lot of minutes, and he just can't get that. Now, I understand the Islanders are flying high, and right now they had a great road trip, but these things are short-lived. Like, he's going to be with you for a long time. So sometimes that's where you need to look at.
I always say, don't turn a player into Nito Niederreiter, because he was on the island. They mistreated him, misused him. He went around the league and has become a very, very good player. Sure.
What's in that book?
Just notes. That's it.
Just my notes. Like when you go to a game, you write stuff down.
Yeah, I just write stuff down. That's it. That's all. That's all in the book. The black book.
Okay. Spaghetti wasn't good tonight. For the
spaghetti. Yeah, it wasn't good tonight. Yeah, pregame meal wasn't good tonight. Wasn't good tonight. Russ's questions are in here too. Topics for Russ. Yeah, Russ's world's in here. Okay. So just got to be prepared. You know how we do it over here.
I like
it. I learned from the best, Russ. Come on now.
There you go.
I learned from the best. Of course, buddy. What do you got coming up this week?
This week, off the post, we're going to do tomorrow. Be a Thursday show. We'll also do a Sunday show. Locked On Flyers still one more this week, two more this week, and then next week we start taping again on Sunday. I'm trying to think. I just wrote about Keaton Verhoff. Like I said, probably have one or two more articles coming out, but who knows when.
Exactly. Russ Cohen, guys, check him out. Like I said, sportsology.com, NHLDraftBuzz.com, SiriusXM, NHL Network Radio on Tuesdays under review with Mick Kern, and Off the Post podcast. Jim Biringer here, Full Press NHL Podcast. Follow along on YouTube, like, subscribe. I do the whole 9 yards. Follow him as well. Guys, take care. We'll be back.
Full Press Hockey Coverage with Jim Biringer.